Let's now go to the other study, the one of how female essence caused women who were already regular cyclers to synchronize to the donor thawed stuff from the year before. And what this is a figure of is showing you across 3 menstrual cycles for the 2 groups of recipients. So there's 6 points. The first one is in the first cycle, the 2 different groups, the ones getting placebo versus the ones getting female essence, have about the same days difference in their cycle onset of the donor sample that's coming to them. They're about 7 days apart from the donor day 1 when they get their first period. The next one shows that one group is starting to get much less distance from the donor day 1. Her cycle is moving, and the other one drops. It looks like it drops a little. You see a huge standard error, if you know what those vertical lines mean around the mean. By the 3rd cycle, a highly significant difference. The women who received donor essence from female, fertile, now we could call it pheromones, their cycles came into synchrony with the donors day 1, day 3, day 5. They moved to get closer and closer to be and presumably by the next cycle it would have been even closer and closer, because that's what synchrony is, that women who live together start to cycle together. So women who got female essence started to cycle in phase with the thawed essence from the year before, from the day 1 and day 3. And that's basically what we had. All of these things led us to the conclusion that human pheromones do exist, and they do produce the effects that the behavioral studies had previously shown. Women who live together start to cycle together. Women who have regular sex with men start to have fertile cycles. And that left us to what we won't do today, but to the development of formulas. And I just want to tell you one thing that came out of this. After I left Penn and founded Athena Institute, I was looking at the data, because I love to look at data, and not graphs of summary data, but actual data points. And I was looking at the sex behavior data of the women who were receiving female essence. And I said, oh my goodness, look at what happened. They started having much more romantic contact with men than the placebo recipients. And I thought, wouldn't that be interesting if the female essence applied to women causes a sexual attractiveness in the women? And that's where we go from this stuff to what became the next stage of the research, to develop formulas to test whether women who tested pheromones, female pheromones, would have a more fertile, not a more fertile, they would have more romantic behavior. Would they start having more sex? Would they have more hugging, petting, and affection from men? Would they sleep with romantic partners more? And it turned out they did in double-blind, placebo-controlled trials. And we had so many men who called up when we started selling this stuff and said, what about us? Don't you have a product for men? And my husband, who's sitting there, I said, I think I could come up with a formula for men. And he said, men? Why would we want to have men coming to Athena Institute for Women's Wellness to get any product? I convinced him that it was worth testing, and we created a formula to test for men, and went on a television news blip for 2 minutes, had a bunch of men who wanted to test it, and it did work versus placebo. So we now have 2 products that we sell, one for women and one for men, for the last 23 years. And the reorder business of it is startling and shocking of people who love it, because it changes their lives. It makes them more attractive to the opposite sex. So thank you for your attention. It's a long run through. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask them.